Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. The time is 6:30 p.m., August 16th, 2018. David Champy II is obviously here.
Ed Comeau is here.
Geary Ciccarone.
I'm here as well.
Dianne Smith.
Here.
Tim Straz.
I am here.
Steve Bailey is absent. He contacted me earlier. Rick Surratt.
Present.
We have enough for a quorum. Let's see, public comments. Public comments. Announcements and correspondence. Mail, we have a copy of Convene, and we also received some of the surveys, which I'll address once we start talking about the master plan. Review and possible approval of the minutes. Unfortunately, I don't have minutes. I was not here. Diane, did you by any chance take minutes? Okay. So George was here for his last day in the role. I did contact him. He said that he had been completely buried, which I didn't expect that he was going to do minutes. So what we'll do is, I've seen the tape twice now, so I could probably do the minutes myself. But that would mean tonight's meeting, if I could have someone, and I'm going to appoint someone to take minutes off of Ed's tape. So if somebody could do minutes, this will be a short meeting, just to let you know, so there probably won't be a lot of minutes. Do I have any volunteers?
I'll volunteer.
Thank you, Diane.
Mr. Chairman,
Ed?
you may want Diane to just very quickly, before she does these minutes, it's just put together just a very quick, who was at the last meeting, just a general minute for that last meeting, and just put it up there as a draft and then work on it. Unless you're going to do that, I'm just saying. Because
Yeah, I'm going to do the meeting that I wasn't here for. I think the video is plenty that I can do that with, and I'll send it out for review as well. And then we'll vote on it. We'll review and vote on it finally at the September meeting, if that works. Everybody in favor of that? Okay.
Do you want a motion for an extension of those minutes?
We'll need a motion.
Extenuating circumstances?
Yes, we'll need a motion. So can I have a motion for extending the approval of the July 19th, 2018 minutes?
I move that we extend the period of time for review and approval of the minutes for that date.
Do I have a second?
I would hate to, I'll second for a discussion.
Yep.
There really is nothing in the law that says you have extra time. We just need to get it done as soon as possible and just do it.
Correct.
I don't think it's going to require a motion.
Okay.
There were many times in the past that I never read the RSAs where we actually didn't do the minutes at the following meeting for one reason or another. And I wouldn't say it was very frequent, but occasionally. Then I don't think there's a stipulation that you must review and approve the minutes at the next meeting. I don't think that exists. It must be done, but not necessarily at the next meeting.
Okay.
The statute dictates that you have 5 business days to get the draft minutes available for the public. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. 5 days from when?
5 days from the meeting. 5
That's
business.
when the extension would be on.
So that would mean you would have to approve them. So there is an RSA.
No, they don't have to approve them. They just have to be available in 5 business days in draft form. It's not a requirement that it be approved in 5 days. It should just be approved at the next meeting. But that's also not stipulated clear in the RSA.
That's what I thought.
Just the 5 business days for the draft. And minutes don't have to be as in detail as most think. In a planning board, you would have to have a lot of detail if you're doing a lot of detailed stuff. But mostly it just has to be who was in the meeting, what was the general discussion, attendance, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be detailed. If you wanted to add stuff later, you could, but then the draft has got to be in 5 business days.
But the motion should be captured. The motions that should be captured.
Because it shows that we're addressing it. We're aware that we're 5 days over what we are supposed to be doing.
Okay.
I think that by having a motion, it shows we're addressing it based on the circumstances. So I have a motion, I have a second. We've had discussion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. New business. So, as we are aware, this seat is empty. We are looking for an administrative assistant. I have gone to, let's see, in the packet here, you're going to see that there's a notice of the job posting for Town of Brookfield. This is just a copy of what we've posted. I went on to the Office of Strategic Initiatives and also placed an ad on their website. So this is where all planning board members get their information from. So hopefully we will have someone reach out from there. I've also called SRPC in Rochester. I discussed with Shayna Silver, and the executive director is Jen. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name because I'll butcher it. It's CZYSZ. She's the executive director. She was on vacation, so she's back tomorrow. And the plan is to talk to her about assistance to try to help fill our position while we have a vacancy. So they might have some ideas that will assist us as well for somebody that can fill that position that is trained and understands the RSAs relating to the planning board.
Comment, suggestion?
Sure, go ahead.
Maine is close. I don't know how we advertise in Maine, because there's a lot of good people over there, I suspect, looking for work. But we never go across the border as far as I know. So maybe the planning commission can give you some contacts to put something in the paper for Acton or Lebanon, right across the border, right?
So I did go on, they do have a website, I don't remember what it is right off the top of my head. They have open job. It's the same thing that OSI has. You can click on job postings. And I did contemplate going as far as Maine as well. So I'm going to take that suggestion. I mean, they are close. Acton's right over the border. So I'll do that. I would say this weekend I can go on and fill it out. It's an online, you just basically cut and paste what we're looking for the job description and contact information. So, Diane, you also did some research as well before I left, and you had quite a few contacts, and I appreciate you reaching out to different individuals. Terry, I believe was her name, Teresa. I ended up reaching out to her as well. I sent her.
The one in Wolfboro? No, the one in Farmington?
Farmington, yeah. So she showed some interest. She did ask me some questions. I tried to field her questions and answer them. I did ask if she had a time available that Ed and I or another board member, I think originally we had discussed you and I sitting down with candidates to discuss with them. And I haven't heard back if she had an available time that we could sit down and meet with her. So we'll see. I did get some feedback from other individuals that I had talked to about the open position. One of the concerns is it's not a lot of hours for somebody to come in and do it. And some people are looking for part-time work, and this really isn't considered part-time. It's 8 to 10 hours a week, maybe. So the other piece of paper that is in here that I printed out is an example of the town of Fitzwilliam looking for land use administrative assistant. What they did is they combined the planning board and the ZBA and Historic District Commission and the Conservation Commission. So they have one assistant for all of those, which equals about 25 hours a week. And what I would like to do is discuss the potential. I know the town has some other availability for positions. I think ZBA assistant, is that right? And is there another open position as well?
Well,
Rick?
Currently, the planning board can hire their own administrative assistant. If you want to combine them with others, you're going to default your choice to the selectmen. So
Correct.
something to consider.
Correct.
Then we'd be hiring.
So as I,
better served hiring your own assistant.
but as I said, I think that one of the things that I'm seeing is people don't want to do 8 hours a week. They'd like more hours. So again, it's up for discussion. That's why I'm mentioning this. So Dianne?
It's been a while since I had that folder, and I didn't think to bring it tonight, but in my canvassing communities in our nearby, there were several towns that did that, where there were somebody who juggled multiple positions. Wakefield does that, and I think the other one was Ossipee. I don't think it was. So, yeah, I think this is not uncommon to do this to beef up the hours to make it interesting for a candidate. I think that's an excellent idea, is to try to pursue that. Even if, especially with the ZBA, looking for an administrative assistant. Of course, that is not there's no regularity at all to that role, but it might, just be enough to add a little bit to fill out the job description for here. I suppose that you need to discuss that with the chair of the ZBA before you pursue that.
That's why I want to talk to the planning board members first, and if it was something that we felt in favor of, and granted we'd be relinquishing the ability to hire or remove that person. If the selectmen are involved, they're going to be involved in the hiring process. So we need to be aware of that. But I think that it would open up more availability for candidates versus, that was one of the things that Terry had asked me, was roughly how many hours, and other people as well. And when you say maybe 8 hours a week, they're like, it's not even worth my time starting my car to drive over there for 8 hours a week. So that's what I wanted to discuss with you guys. If you guys want to have more discussion about on how what you're thinking of this, if you agree, disagree, and then maybe we can have a motion and do a further discussion with the selectmen. Gary?
Yeah, she had her hand up first.
Dianne.
There is one other option that we discussed rather offhandedly at the last meeting, and that is to just contract it out. And I struggled with coming up with a name, and it's, is it MRI that's in Meredith that provides municipal staffing services? And that could be a short-term solution. Maybe, I don't know what, I didn't call them, I have no idea what their pricing is, but it may be an attractive alternative from that perspective. I mean, and, we might need to, I don't know, re-examine what the responsibilities are, other than, obviously handling the processing of applications and so forth. That's clearly something that person would need to be doing, or presumably would be doing. But are there other things that we could cut back on, that we could buy that service instead of hiring somebody?
So we have no,
Good.
so we have no idea how much that actually costs.
We don't.
I think that's a very good idea, good suggestion. They actually may, if they can't provide, I wonder if, just by talking to them, maybe they know of people, I don't know. Like maybe they have some kind of referral system, maybe? You say, I know they do an analysis of existing boards and selectmen and stuff like that, so maybe there could be a contact within their entity to get us someone.
There's one other thought. I agree. But before I lose this thought, you had mentioned that you put a notice on OSI's website. I didn't even know that they had that opportunity there. But I also had suggested New Hampshire Municipal Association, since the town is a member. And when I looked at their listing, when I was thinking of this, to see what, whether or not there were others that were looking for similar positions, It's a pretty extensive list. A lot of, I think that's kind of the default place where all municipalities, at least that are members, at least throw an ad onto that website.
Okay.
I don't know if you need to run that through the selectmen or not.
Is it if we're members, we shouldn't have to pay to put an ad on there?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Because when I worked for Coast, we were a member, and we would post vacancies there occasionally.
Okay.
What are the other jobs? The CBA, and that I presume is going to be a lot less onerous than the planning board administrator. They don't always meet, and they don't always have an issue to deal with. We always meet, and we always have some kind of issue to deal with. Beside that one, what other position is open in the town?
I go to the conservation meetings.
Okay.
They take their own meeting minutes. They meet once a month. The meeting lasts about a half hour. And the minutes maybe are half a page.
Yeah.
It's not there. You go to the cemetery, what do the cemetery meetings look like?
Same thing.
Same thing, there's nothing there.
Take their own minutes.
So I don't know the downside then of, I mean, hypothetically, if the administrator had to be replaced for one reason or another, there aren't an awful lot of people in town dependent on that position. This is the primary position. I mean, CBA is not as demanding. So it really isn't, I mean, we're kind of most important. If somebody fills all those, wears all those hats.
So is there another position available right now? I thought there were two other ones that the selectmen were looking at. Or is there just one?
Well, it wasn't the last meeting, but,
Rich, you don't know one? Okay.
George is making about $7 grand, that's more than 8 hours a week, 8 hours a month.
Is that, what's the rate?
I think it was 18,
No,
15.
15.
15.
Yeah, that's.
So 15 times
hours.
52 weeks is $7,800.
Yeah, I was doing that earlier, I was breaking it back. It's $134 a week,
Nice.
8 hours a day.
it's 9 hours,
8 times.
8.97.
Was that 8 hours a week or a month?
A week.
My bad, I think
Yeah.
Does the code enforcement officer or the road agent require assistance
he's by appointment.
by appointment?
So we can table this discussion about combining positions if we want and just continue to investigate MRI and NHMA. I can put,
And SRPC, and that could be
yeah,
a
SRPC is gonna call me
source
Monday.
of contracted help too.
Yeah, they're gonna call me Monday.
And there might be other firms like MRI, I just don't, that's the only one that comes to mind.
Aren't there temp services? There's temp services around that must have the ability to find somebody. There's staffing solutions, there's a few others around.
Rich?
Well, you got another option too, with the master plan in front of you. You could meet twice a month, dedicate one meeting to the master plan. That would give the individual plenty of work to work on, drafting that, keeping that current. And then the other meeting could be your normal business meeting. So next year you might say, we're gonna try to increase the budget because we have the master plan to deal.
True. So there is a copy, I put a copy of the job description for the planning board administrative assistant. Just to refresh our memory, if any of you didn't have a copy, you have a copy now. So if you have anyone in mind, then send them our way. I think we've talked about who we're gonna call. Diane's done a great job reaching out to the surrounding towns, and I will go ahead and work on those other two websites. Let's see what SRPC has to say Monday. Ed?
In the meantime, who's answering the phone calls for the board? Who is receiving the emails? We have, Dianne has agreed to do minutes. So I think it might be advisable to assign somebody to be the administrative assistant, just so we have some continuity, because I wouldn't like to see people calling up and sending emails and then they're wondering why is the planning board not responding. So I think we should have something set up and situated.
Can you just grease the skids for the next discussion? Because if you look at this, I said, who do the town residents call? Who removes George's details from the website? Which we also need to address the rules of procedure. There's also contact in there for George on multiple forms, so we need to take care of that. The keys, we need to take care of those. I think that you were going to meet with him about some stuff going on in the office and potentially get the keys. So we need to get the keys as well. Gary, you got an email password? Last meeting, he handed you something. I think it was the email address and password.
It was
Yes,
the
we
log in from the computer.
Yes.
Log into the computer. So if we go on the computer, it's automatically logged into his email, would be my guess.
Also correct. We put a forwarding address, a forwarding response to his email. So I don't know if, I'm not sure if it gets triggered if the email is open and it receives an email, then it sends out the response, the auto response saying to contact the planning board chair for assistance, or if it automatically is going. If you haven't received anything, then I'm imagining it needs to be turned on and logged in for it to trigger.
Did you forward it or on vacation?
It's an automatic auto response.
That's an on vacation type thing. There's also a capability in Outlook to forward.
Yes, yeah. I think, I'm trying to recall, it was last month. I think I might have put a CC on it for the planning board chair, but I can't recall.
What I'll do is I'll do a test.
Yeah.
From my personal email, I'll send an email to admin assistant
Yeah.
for planning board. See if I can send it to my planning board.
Yeah.
And we'll deal with it then.
Yeah.
You can ask Lance if you need help. Lance is the computer guy. Someone here knows how to do it.
Is Lance out of service right now?
No, he's back in.
Okay. Okay, so make sure. I heard he had any issues there, so.
Yeah.
All right. So who do the residents call? That's a good question, because we don't have voicemail. They can't call the office. But what would typically happen during the days that George wasn't here when they called for the administrative assistant for the planning board? Is that a valid conversation to have? Because if the phone just rang for George, then that's what's going to continue to do the rest of the week when he's not in there.
Why don't we have voicemail?
Because it's like $3,000 to set it up.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we forward that number to a designated cell phone? I mean, I know you can do
It's the
that.
general office number.
Right.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
The 522-3688 is the
Is that right?
general
It
number?
is. Yeah.
Could I ask what would be wrong with a mechanical device, like an answering machine? Is it an interim thing?
I don't see a problem.
They work.
What's an answering machine?
But it can't work for the, I don't think that can work on that kind of network. Because it's not directed to a particular phone.
Is it a T1 or something like that, some kind of, It's not like a-
Rich, you know more.
It's just a regular dial-up. And the issue is what an answering machine is, who's responsible to take the calls that go to the selectmen, they go to the town clerk, they go to everyone else. So they just accumulate on a generic machine and no one has the responsibility to field them.
This is an official from the town of Brookfield. This machine is dedicated solely to answering questions that concern the planning board. For other calls, Virginia
call
McGinley
during
is in
business
the
hours.
office from Monday to so-and-so.
I think that's what the message says, check the website for contact information.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because if they contact via email and it's forwarded to me, then we'll
You'll
get
get
the contact that way.
Well, I think we should test it just in case somebody's, trying to contact us and it's going into the
Someone want to call?
I'll send you a message.
We're becoming so dependent on electronic.
Well, it's easier if the place is open all the time, somebody would be in the office.
Right.
Agreed.
Is anyone checking the real mail?
Yeah.
Hard copy mail?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, were you receiving the emails that were forwarded?
So I can tell you that the past 2 weeks, maybe the past week, I've had more emails from SRPC than I've had in the past. So the thought is maybe it is being forwarded, but like I said, I want to test it. I think Rich might be testing it now. So. All right, and we have established that there is a recording on our telephone line that says to
Check the website.
check the website. Okay, so there's your question about.
But it's not a recording device, it's just an answering machine.
Right, it just says check the website for contact information, which is fine because then they can go to planning board, they can send an email to the admin
Correct.
assistant and I will still get it, so,
The
as long as it's forwarded.
The only contact information on the planning board site is you, an email to the PB chair. George is gone, so there's
Yeah.
they can't send it to him, or they can talk to the main number and get the message to check the website.
That's fine. My email's on there and my cell phone number's on there too, so,
Oh, your cell phone number's on?
yep. Oh, trust me, it's on there.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Yes. Yeah, I get calls for selectmen, so people trying to get a hold of selectmen, I'm like, sorry,
Wrong number.
wrong number. All right. Rich, thanks for doing that. I will check my planning board email. That's what you're doing right now, right?
And I just sent one to the planning board, to PB chair.
Mr. Chairman, so all the emails that were being sent to George, that's most likely where the invoice is for the mailing?
Click the mail.
But I'm just, because if you're getting that email, did that invoice get to
I
you?
have not gotten that invoice. So how about we'll go in there, we'll turn that on and see if it forwards. If not, I will get a copy of that. That was the other thing I was going to address that. Were you watching over my shoulder when I was writing down
No, I
my
didn't,
notes?
for just mind melding or something, I don't know.
This is too good. All right, so we'll back up. The questions that we had earlier about who the residents call, that's been answered. Removing George's details, Rich just confirmed that that's been removed. Debriefing George, that's been done as well. And as far as keys, we need to get keys. So that's an open action item. Ed, I think you were gonna meet with George, and have you set up a time to do that at all?
No, I had difficulty finding him on the, when I called him, I guess he was busy, so I didn't get to.
Okay. I can text him, and maybe we can both meet him in here, because I'd like to also be involved in that, so that we can see what's going on. Because I did go in there earlier and try to figure some stuff out and get our mail and all that fun stuff, so. All right, so next item for discussion would be the click the mail, getting you reimbursed for that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the computer on after this meeting. Hopefully that will forward the invoice. I'll have a copy of the invoice that I can send to Mary Lou and get the selectmen to
there was a huge interest payment. It was 50%.
Interest rates did go up, but I don't think they went up that much.
Looking forward to that.
All right.
You got the invoice for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Okay. So that was new business. We're gonna move on to old business, which is the looming master plan. As far as the master plan goes, when we were talking about mail that had been received, we have 13 returned or refused that were mailed out. We have 1 declined. The reason why this one was declined was due to the fact that these people are seldom in town, and they stated that they do not feel that their thoughts are relevant. And then we have another 9 here that were received,
And that whole box.
and that whole box is full.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good response so far then.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did watch the last meeting twice. One of the things that I know that we had talked about, or you had talked about, was consolidating all this information in the master plan. One of the things that was discussed was everybody take a package and go home and go online and go into the Google accounts and enter in this information. I think the Google survey is a great thing. I did open a Google account.
Okay, good.
So, I don't remember what I think it's pbchair.brookfieldnh@gmail.com. So there's an account there.
Good.
Just that now I've got to figure out how to give other people
Yeah, I'll help you out with
access,
that.
so.
Yeah.
Where's my train of thought? Oh, so the reason why I don't want these surveys to leave, we've had a recent incident where some information has left this building and has reappeared 10 years later. So we don't want these to disappear, and then people say, yeah, I don't know where all that package and information went.
What we
So,
storing.
where are we storing them? That box is a great idea for right now. I'm thinking that maybe we can talk to the archivist and maybe put them
In the vault. would be
in a vault for a little while, until we can get to them. That way they can't be pulled out and messed with. So I think that will probably be the best thing to do at this point is we're gonna collect them. They are staying here. They will be locked up until we finally get together and go through the survey.
What's the deadline?
We established that in one of the previous meetings. I don't
So,
recall.
how long are we accepting all this? We didn't put a time on it?
I believe we did. I don't think we did in the letter though. Did you see that in the letter that we sent out? Because I don't think we did.
We never established the.
I didn't get a letter.
You didn't get the survey?
I just got the survey.
Yeah, and on the front of it, I thought that we had established it, but we didn't. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
So, well, I mean, I can go back and look at the meeting minutes. I thought that we had discussed that when we talked about sending the survey out. Diane?
So, here's a suggestion. You may remember we developed a press release, and I didn't pick up today's Granite State News yet, so I don't know if it's by any chance in there, but we could do a press release and modify it to add a please return by date. It wouldn't be official, it's not, it's not necessarily on the form. Is it on the back page? By any chance?
No.
But I would, offer that as a suggestion for 2 purposes. One,
Yeah.
to give people a little bit of a push to, oh, I gotta get that done. And for those that just put it on their counter and it got buried, it might be a reminder.
What would be the date? What would be the cutoff date? And we could also add that to the website too.
That's what I was thinking, we could put like a banner across the top, says, master plan survey to be completed by this date.
Because I believe it's available on the site now, right? But
Yes,
it wasn't
it is.
originally, but it is now.
It is.
Yes.
I think you reminded me of that.
Let's pick a date.
So, I'm okay with that if you guys are. I mean, it would save me from going through minutes and looking. I don't think it was voted on. I think that we had just discussed it and took a shot in the dark.
Virginia's helping out on Fridays, or when she's here and has office hours. I had asked her, when people come in, just remind them about the master plan survey and if they should, take it or not.
Okay.
Once we get the survey in, I wasn't really back when the survey was constructed, the reasons for it and what we intend to do with it, and when we intend to do that by. I know we're fishing for information, and we're going to tailor any legislation this town does, probably by the wants of the community. But were there any plans to do any of that this year prior to the March meeting?
We got a very slow start. And I think
That's fine.
I think that it would be hopeful to have it done, but I don't think it will. I think we still have to tabulate everything. We are going to have meetings while we're getting the master plan developed and invite the town into the meetings as well. So I don't think that's going to be, and we've got 4 more meetings the rest of the year.
So there's nothing to say that it has to be done by March 12th or whatever the date of the meeting is.
I'd like to have them in by the end of the year, because we're still going to tally it all.
Well, we should give everybody sometime in September anyway to get these done. What do you think?
Yeah.
At least, because there's gonna be people that, latecomers, I've been one myself enough times,
Ed?
The other issue is, I just lost my thought. That's happening to me now.
You're sitting next to an old guy.
They'll come back to me.
You sure?
Yeah, we'll watch.
Last year, an associate of mine called me, he works for a planning company in Vermont. He asked me for some basic information about Wolfboro. Apparently they were putting out the bid, that master plan, they were buying one. I just threw that out there, I didn't know if anybody was aware that towns, well, at least one town, doesn't have.
So when I was looking on OSI's website, some of the job opportunities, I think it was OSI's website. There was a master planner job position to revamp this town. I won't specifically name the town, but to revamp their entire master plan. They were hiring someone full-time to come in and do the master plan.
Well, it's done.
So we're all working on volunteering here and getting this done.
Yeah.
We're a small town, we don't need to hire somebody to do it. I'd much rather have people's input on it than cookie cutter.
I remember now, see, I told you.
There you go. It was just buying time.
Listen, there were only, I think there were 3 major things, you can probably correct me, about, we waited to work on certain things that you had put on the agenda this year, because we wanted to wait till we got the responses back from the master plan. And one was the towers.
Yep.
Solar.
Yep.
And what was the other one? There was a tiny home one? Ordinance?
No.
That wasn't?
So was solar and wind combined?
Well, there were a few, but to your question, I think we had enough time if we only had like 3 major new warrant articles that had to go in to change the ordinance after we reviewed it. Do you think we could accomplish that?
You know how long it took us to put wording together for the proposed warrant articles for the 2 years ago? Gary can probably remember that. It took us forever to come up with just the wording. So that's what concerns me is I want to make sure we do it right. And if we do have to do 2 meetings a month, we might end up doing that. just to be able to focus one meeting specifically for the master plan and then the other one for other town hoo-ha, whatever happens. Gary, did you have a comment?
No, after you do that, you still have to run it by the town attorney for legal muster anyway.
Yeah.
She actually constructs things pretty quick. I don't know if we want to pay her for that, but I know one time we did this, and we kind of made a bullet list of what we wanted to accomplish, and she wrote the thing in 10 minutes. And it was good. But I'm not saying that we should do that, but it does make the thing a little shorter than constant manipulation of words here.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Where are we on the budget for the planning assistant to date this year? I mean, we've budgeted $6,700 for the position for this year. How much did George use and how much is left? So that may be to what Rich was saying, you know, we may be able to use that money to get somebody in here on a more than 8-hour basis a week to help us with this.
I'll look into that. I would say no more than $2,000.
There's a folder right in here, we keep, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Where is it?
It's right on top of the file cabinet, you'll see the budget,
was he
right down.
detached housing?
Yes. Detached, accessory dwelling units.
And they don't all have to be done by the meeting anyway. We get what we get done. You want to construct a master plan. But you wouldn't do that this year. You would get ordinances done if they passed. Then next year, construct a new master plan.
I mean, there's 16 weeks left in the year. We're looking at 19 hours a week at $15 an hour if it's $4,500 left.
Diane?
As of July 31st, the actual expenditures for planning board secretary line item was $1,241, and it was $6,500 budgeted.
Okay. Thank you.
And we're also under budget on everything else, all the other expenses. Even thinking it's half year, I mean, we're way under. So as of the end of July, we have a balance for expenditures collectively of $6,300.
Gary?
I would kind of think that we're almost obligated to address well, there's 3 major things there, I guess, maybe more, but if we don't address them this year, if we're going to make any significant changes in the ordinances, we are not going to do the master plan next year. Because just by virtue of what those ordinance rewrites would be, they would have to be approved at town meeting, and if we slide by the town meeting, we are waiting till the following town meeting to get the ordinances either approved or not, or voted on. And then we could go to work on the master plan. That's just down the road 2 years. That's a trek.
Right.
I don't think we have to go that far. Anyway.
So what are you suggesting? We work on wording for the ordinance and skip what we get for feedback and just see what the people want through the...
Get the feedback, I would say.
Take the feedback now and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
And is it out of the realm of possibilities to have 2 meetings a month?
We've done it many times.
And I like the idea of having the meeting, you know, just about the master plan, so we can sit down and tally stuff, and you can walk us through how to tally the information.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is not, these packets are not that complex. We managed to take 300 or 400 votes on voting night here and tabulate a lot of that in teams. I think, and I'm just making a suggestion, that we could have a meeting where we actually do that physical thing around this table to a certain point, and it wouldn't be difficult if we set a mechanical format for tabulating them. I don't think it would be that difficult to do, especially with more people involved. Like we always said, 2 people on voting night, count the votes. 1 tabulator, 1 reader. That's how it works. It goes pretty quickly and it's efficient. They get it all done in an hour perhaps. I don't think that's all that difficult if we set up some kind of system where we actually, I mean, we're talking about maybe 2 meetings a month anyway, perhaps. I think we can do that pretty quickly. I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna suggest when I said, we're not gonna take them home.
Yeah.
We're gonna have them locked in the vault. But first thing we need to establish is what's the due date, right? Right now, we're all talking about what's the plan when we get all these in here, but we really need to establish the due date. When they're all done, that's our cutoff. And then from that point, we take them out of the vault, we all have a meeting in here, and then we tabulate everything. I like the Google survey. I mean, I have a laptop, people have laptops, we sat here with laptops.
On that computer.
Yeah, you just did it.
You could compile the data to date,
Right.
and if you get a few more in, you add that data, but you're looking for trends.
Right.
You're looking for the hot buttons, and you got a pile to look at. And if you get another 50, all right, put them on top of the ones you have.
Right.
I wouldn't wait.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think we received our initial pulse from the mailing. I think it's gonna tail off dramatically until there's another advertisement or we get the survey live online, and then everybody gets advertise that, we'll get some new people, then it's gonna tail off again, and then we probably will just get 1s or 2s for the duration. It's always, you're gonna get the most response at the initial onset, and after that, it's just crumbs.
Gary?
I suggest we pick a date to begin this, and not, like Rich says, after everything is in.
Okay.
We can do all the bulk of what is in tomorrow afternoon if we had to. Then the workload is less.
Well, you can.
Well, you know,
About next Thursday
yeah.
to start.
Is there Wi-Fi here?
Yeah. 23rd?
No, I mean our next Thursday meeting.
So, all right, so it would be September 21st. I think it's a good suggestion to do that. The next meeting, just establish that whatever we have in here, we're gonna tabulate it, and
We don't want to do that in an interim meeting, or?
Yeah, I meant to do it on the 6th. I meant the next Thursday to start tabulating this.
then have the regular meeting on that.
Correct. But I mean, because it's not gonna be, I mean, the minutes are gonna be, planning board works on master plan data. And, I mean, that's all it's gonna be, so
Yeah.
the minutes aren't gonna be a problem. So it couldn't cost us that much of our budget to meet. And that's what's good about that.
Okay. So, can I have a motion?
I move that we meet on the 6th.
Okay.
Second.
Second
this.
discussion?
That's a Thursday, correct?
That is Thursday. Yep.
For purpose of tabulating
Great, thank you.
what we have.
More definition will be good for the motion.
Okay, and I move that we meet on the 6th to tabulate the surveys.
Okay. And I have a second.
So,
Rick. Any discussion? Diane?
People are going to be able to do it either on their own personal PC or laptops, or is there a computer here that would be available if somebody doesn't have a laptop?
So we have a computer here. I have access to a laptop. If anyone else have a laptop they could bring in.
And it's done, I mean, the actual tabulation is done on the Google.
Yeah, it's done
Or it's
online.
not
Yeah.
So
kept on
everybody will
the-
have to, who's gonna be entering will have to have some kind of Google account. And we'll have to figure out how to share the form. Well, yeah.
Can more than one
Still have
computer,
some, what's that?
can more than one computer access the same form?
Yes.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, at the same time?
Do you know the format for this?
Yes.
So you would probably set the method of tabulation up because you're
I-
acquainted with it.
I've been tasked with that, yes.
Okay. Don't be late.
He's the point person.
Yeah, so the nice thing about the Google survey is it's gonna put everything into the forms that we need it by category. Right. It's gonna save us a ton of work, so it's just entering the data that we need to do. So, we have a motion, we have a second, we have a discussion. Diane?
More discussion, and this is really a question for Tim. You said everybody, the people who are going to be accessing it need to have a Google account?
Well, it depends on whether or not we make the survey live to the outside world at the time or not. We can turn it on and off
Okay.
so that anybody who goes to a link can fill it out. So we'll have to iron that out.
Because otherwise, just the planning board chair has access.
I believe he can, like I have a Gmail account, I believe he can give me rights to edit that document. He can share it with me, and then I can do,
Is it
Like
just
I can
restricted
create.
to one?
he would restrict it to me at the time,
But
and he
he
can
could-
revoke it at will.
Okay, so he could collect, he could give that authorization to any one of us who has a Gmail account?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So perhaps, may I suggest, I think it's a great idea that we meet on the 6th, just to ease that process, and we're not stumbling at the beginning of the meeting, trying to work out these details. If there's things that people need to do in advance to be prepared to do that, perhaps you guys can coordinate the technicalities and let us know.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, motion, second, discussion. Any further discussion about meeting on the 6th?
Just a question, how many do you have in the box? I can't see that from here. Is it
I'm not gonna sit here and count them,
no, I don't expect it, is it,
but I can,
no.
that'd be a good idea.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, that's better than I expected.
Quite a bit, that's
Plus
great.
what's on the table.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's,
Good.
let's say 9 of them here.
great.
So, I think if we all had access to the survey through a laptop, we could hammer this out.
Very quickly.
Who knows what we're gonna have by the 6th too. 'Cause-
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion
On the motion.
on the motion? Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? September 6th, motion carries. We will meet to tabulate what we have for master plan surveys. Now, that being said, we also need to establish what our final cutoff date will be. And I think, Tim, you bring up a very good point, by the way. I'm going to call on you in just a minute, but let me finish my thought.
No problem.
I think you're right, that we're going to have that influx at first when people receive them, because it's fresh in their mind. Then you're going to have people that are cleaning off the kitchen counters and go, oh, I got to fill that out, which is going to be maybe 2-3 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then you might have a couple that trickle in, people are on vacation or whatever, so I think that's a wise proposal for us to just hammer these out first. We'll have a few trickle in, those will be easy enough to enter in later on, so, thank you. Tim, what did you have for?
We're gonna establish the time when we're gonna meet. 6:30?
6:30.
Right.
Yeah.
Given the amount of stuff that's in there, and by a certain time such as September 30th or something like that, there's enough here to really establish a trend anyway. If a dozen more trickle in, I can't imagine it, unless it's a 50-50 split in a particular item, swaying it an awful lot. It might, but not likely. At least we'll know what the trend is.
So,
I imagine by the end of the night, we will be looking at those anyways.
yeah,
We'll be
yeah,
able to
so
see
it'll be
those.
there.
It'll be there. We could probably print out a report at that time with all the items that we had qualified as, check mark for better, best, good, whatever. We'll be able to get some data from that. The hard part will be everything that is the comments.
The comments.
That'll be
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
I believe Geary was offering September 30th as the cutoff date.
Seems logical. the few that would come in October, the 3 or 4 really aren't gonna do an awful lot to affect our work. We're not gonna revamp our entire approach because 3 things came in, I can't imagine, not considering the bulk that's already come in.
I would like to comment, though, that by the 6th, we'll have the online survey will be completed. So it can be deployed with a link on the website for people to fill it out electronically rather than send us a paper copy. So maybe we need a period of time for responses in that medium.
I need a recap on something.
Far away.
There's gonna be an electronic web form that people can
Yes,
fill out
that's correct.
electronically. When did that happen? Did I miss something?
No, we discussed that when Dave Udadwara was here 2 or 3 months ago.
So what's on the internet now is something to be filled out?
That is a paper PDF copy that you print out, fill out, drop off, or mail in.
And when is the electronic fill out web form going to be ready?
That'll be ready before the 6th.
Oh,
We're
okay.
gonna need it to tabulate.
Okay.
But won't that, just out of curiosity, that'll all be tabulated by Google or whomever?
Yes.
So we don't have any real work to do once we get that, it's already been.
It's already been done, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about doing the online survey.
So that'll tally it from the moment the person
Yeah, they'll add
does
it
it?
to the pool.
How does it capture the actual written comments, or the long comments? No, how does I understand when you have a survey that says A, B, and C, and D, and you put it
Yeah,
somewhere,
yeah.
but how does it do that for a paragraph that
Well,
somebody writes?
We're gonna have a section that's gonna be, it's gonna be a pain in the butt to deal with, because you're just gonna have, at this time, this date, somebody entered these comments for this question, and they're just gonna have pages and pages of comments
That
potentially.
answered my question.
But we can also get a good feel of, if somebody's complaining about a specific road, then they know, all right, well, they're not
Right.
happy with the roads, so roads are poor.
You know,
I'm just using that for an example.
15 times somebody commented about one road, then you know that that must be
Yeah.
an issue.
Yeah.
Can
Okay,
I make a motion about that?
go for it.
Well, I won't make it just yet, but I kind of explain what I'm after. I'd like to move that we have the cutoff date at September 30th. But make it flexible enough if for some bizarre reason 40 more come in on October 1st, that we have the ability to move, to acquire them and tabulate them. This isn't, So I move that September 30th is the tentative cutoff date, which we expect to begin work. Let me word this better, that's not too good. I move that September 30th be the cutoff date for accepting what's the word?
Surveys.
Surveys.
I'll second. That was on, you done?
This exception, the planning board at its discretion can extend that time if so deems fit.
I think
Are we
we
in
all,
discussion? Are
I
we
think
in
we all
discussion yet?
understand it. No, that's still the motion, but I think we all understand what he's trying to get at. He's trying to get at the fact that September 30th is what we're gonna put down on paper, on the website, on the press release. September 30th
So don't
is,
call it a cutoff date.
Yeah.
Just say, please have your surveys in by September 30th so that we can complete the survey process.
Perfect.
Okay, that's not part of the motion though. That can be another motion. We're making the date to terminate the survey September 30th, but the language that we use, you can make that up. I agree. You're right.
Tim?
I would suggest October 18th, which is their October planning board meeting, and make that an invite for people the stragglers to bring in their survey to the last planning board meeting. For the planning board meeting on that date, close it that day, we'll all be here. We can, if we need to vote to to extend or not, we can do that at that time. Because we also need to know, like Gary's saying, we don't know when the flow of data may come to us. It may come at September 30th, and then all of a sudden we shut it off. We're not in a meeting to discuss, you know,
Right.
we may be cutting this short, so I think we should be in a say October 18th is the final day that it's gonna be live. And then if there's a circumstance that happens in that time, we'll have data to know how many people were getting a day or a week filling out the form, and then we can either say that, yep, we have enough data, we can stop tonight, or we need to extend it beyond.
Can I amend that?
Sure.
Motion. I move that the survey acceptance termination date be October 18th, just period. After that, it's kind of moot. That gives us 5 months for any construct between then and the meeting, which is ample time.
I think that's plenty of time. And then we're meeting that day anyways, we can,
Yeah, discussion if necessary.
Yep.
So,
All right, so the motion on the table is to have the survey acceptance date, the last day of the survey acceptance date be October 18th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have discussion? I think we've had plenty of discussion, but go ahead, Rick.
There's nothing wrong with having a termination date. It allows us to move on to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Cutoff date, survey acceptance is October 18th. And if you could put something out on the paper, is that what you did before? For the,
No, I gave it to you. I'll dust it off. I
Yeah.
can bring it with me. And
I could dig for it, but.
then we will need to update it anyhow to include that information. And I don't think that it said anything about the ability for it to be done online. So, yeah, it's going to need to be rewritten. Interestingly, I don't know if you remember, but there was a piece in the paper back in, I don't know, I think it was April or early May, that Tom Beeler had written about the master plan,
Yep.
that we were undertaking that activity. So, yeah, we need to refresh that.
Okay, if you can send me that copy, and then we'll doctor that up and put a press release out to the paper with the cutoff date. The cutoff date and the web survey, a link maybe we can put in there?
yeah, definitely. We'll have to get it together.
Okay.
Before we can establish our link.
Yeah, so if you can do that and send me a link via email,
Yes.
we can doctor that up.
And then you can amend the press release accordingly to also include
Yes.
that, because I'll
Yes.
just leave that blank.
Yep.
Okay.
So seeing that we have a cutoff date, I would like to give a time frame to get the electronic link, the email link, or not the email link, but the website link for people to use. Do you have an ETA when we can get that? Sorry, putting you on the spot.
Yeah, well, looks like, yeah, I'll have to do it this weekend if we want to do it soon. Be like, give me a little time.
All right, well, you have my number,
Yes.
my email address.
Yes.
If you need help,
Yes.
if you're running into problems, let me
I
know.
should be able to say, I think we just need to establish access. I should be able to set.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can even give you the password to the account, you can
Yeah.
mess with it too. I mean,
Yeah, that's fine. Send it to
It's an
me.
open account, so
Yeah,
we can do that.
Yep.
Diane, when can you send me that?
Tomorrow.
Cool.
The web form that we're gonna use to tally, that's, I don't think we've ever used something like that before. That could be used more often to do surveys and tally. If does it all. I had no idea that it actually integrated with the Google.
Yeah, I did,
It's amazing.
it was 5 or 6 years ago, I did one for the town of Elliott. We did it on Conservation Commission. We had a pedestrian survey for the town, because we were going for a grant to the state for sidewalks and that nature. And so we had 150 people fill out the survey, 2,000 people in town. So,
Okay. Well, I think we've beaten this horse enough. Do we want to talk any more about master plan? I think we have a plan in place, which is excellent. And again, thank you for everybody's help with getting this together, because and being open to come in on the 6th and work on things. I know people are busy, so appreciate it. All right, so one of the other things for old business, we're still on old business, and this will go very quickly. I mentioned it previously about the rules of procedure. I do want to thank Tim for updating the rules of procedure. He did send out an updated version with the removal of the Stoneham Road poster, whatever you want to call it, and updated it to where we're actually posting town happenings and planning board happenings as well. So, Gary?
Was that the entire ordinance you sent?
Yes.
yes,
The whole book?
Yes.
it was.
Good, that's what I wanted to know.
Rules of procedure.
Yeah.
Huh?
It was just rules of
Rules of
procedure.
procedure.
Yeah,
That's what I
rules of
meant, the whole
procedure,
rules
yeah.
of procedure.
Yeah.
So I can just print it out and I've got it.
I'm like, oh, I didn't even print the whole thing, but
We don't have George to print for us, so I can hit him up. Out it
There you
comes.
go, yeah.
So we're gonna review the rules procedures that he corrected, and then next meeting, we can then accept the changes.
yes, but before we go there, we need to make additional edits. Because as I had discussed before about removing information about George being the contact, I did go through this and I did see there are many times that we call out contact George Nick, call
Yeah.
George Nick, you know, and we need to remove that. So I think what needs to happen is we need to go back through this. I believe I have an editable copy. I don't think he sent it as a PDF.
No, I sent it as a Word doc, but I can continue making the edits.
That'd be awesome.
What do we need to come up with the language we're gonna replace.
Yeah, so I would say, you can say, I don't want to leave a name in there. I think it could just be
Oh, we just call it
administrative assistant, and then when they try to contact administrative assistant, they're gonna see that the planning board chair is the next in line. So, until we have the administrative assistant seat filled. So, I'm fine with that.
For your information,
Yes.
if it comes down to it and there's PDF editing that has to be done, I have PDF editor.
Okay.
I can edit any PDF document.
Is that the only, whenever there's a reference to the administrative assistant, I imagine with George's, there was probably a phone number attached to his name. Are we gonna use the town office phone number for?
Yeah.
Because I think he had said at the last meeting that he sometimes, some of the forms had his cell number.
Right. Okay, what else?
So that was the only thing I had about rules of procedure. Other than that, you did what was asked you, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
There was another item that I changed on there from the meeting minutes.
Yes, Monday to Thursday.
Yes,
Monday to
the date.
Thursday, that's
Yep.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so old business is done, and do we have any
Well, I have some old business.
old business to discuss? Some invoices?
Put this in our records, that's the mailing, the certified mailing for the pit inspection.
Oh,
We just have to wait for them to come back.
yeah.
I believe the Smith pit should be easy, because he's right in town, and he always just lets us go and do it.
Right.
But I don't know anything about this new owner. Massachusetts, the Moose Mountain Properties Holding. I don't know who that is, so.
Okay.
And I have other contact information for that company, so if they don't respond fast enough, I guess I can try to contact them directly and somehow get some type of written permission to do the inspection.
Okay. So I remember at the last meeting, the discussion was, who the heck is this Moose Mountain LLC? And you were looking it up on your cell phone as it was going, so I appreciate that. That expedited, because I'm writing notes saying, oh, I gotta look up Moose Mountain LLC, and the next thing you know, you had it on. Oh, cross that out, I'm not doing that. So, cool. Thanks for taking care of that, Ed. Any other old business we want to discuss? Hearing none. Public comments? Yes, sir.
I think it would be good if the board reviewed the 91A RSA. There's some overviews available, but the RSA itself is not hard reading. It'd be good to be knowledgeable of what's required of all boards.
Yep.
And the second comment is, for people bringing laptops down here, we have a password on that Wi-Fi. So we'll have to get you scored away before the 6th to make sure you can get in.
Is that a Lance thing?
Pardon me?
No,
No, we have
it's-
it here. We have it here. It's in the office.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none. Member comments? I have a member comment, and I would like to thank Gary for the last meeting, for leading the meeting in my absence. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Diane, did you have comments?
Yes. Ed and I didn't communicate with Ed about this, but I'll just bring it up now. We received a communication from SRPC. They, I can't remember the document now that they're updating. I think it has something to do with the economic development, was it? This one says. At any rate, the principal planner at SRPC asked, they are canvassing all of their communities to see whether or not there are any new large development projects that are being undertaken. I know it was for the 10-year plan, I think. That was it. And any large projects that they might not know about that might have transpired recently that might impact traffic.
In Brookfield?
So I had not responded. I meant to, but I was going to talk to Ed privately, but I just thought that it was useful for the board to know that SRPC does reach out to us on occasion as the representatives for Brookfield.
Was it the 10-year transportation plan?
It was something to do with transportation.
Is that the TAP program? TAP?
No. All right, I'll dig up the email.
That's TIP.
But to my knowledge, the answer to that is no. unless I'm in the dark on major projects that are permitted in Brookfield that I don't know about.
We would have no subdivision that didn't go through this board, so.
And you're talking specifically transportation, not regional impacts type?
Correct.
I know I have the email here somewhere.
Here we go. Large-scale developments. This was sent August 6th. SRPC is in the process of updating its regional travel demand model. This model is used to estimate where people are traveling to and from and to help us plan for future infrastructure needs or estimate regional impacts such as vehicle emissions. We're asking our municipalities to help generate a list of blah, blah, blah. Large-scale development projects that would not appear in the most recent building permit data for 2017. So anything with permits in 2018. So sorry, it was not the 10-year plan. It was their transportation, their regional travel demand model. So I have not yet responded.
It's pretty easy to respond with one word, none.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other member comments? Thank you, Diane. Hearing none, meeting adjourned.